Hello and welcome to worksheet P4. What we are trying to find in this worksheet is being able to calculate the mean, the median, the mode, and the range of a data set. And so if we look at this, we're going to look at those four answers, and we're going to start with the easiest one first for each of these. We have a dot plot here where we have the numbers 68 and 69. We have 73 times, and then 71 and 72 and 73 and 75 and 79 and 80. Our job is to find the mode. That's the easiest one to find, and especially in a dot plot, it's the easiest one to see, because all we're looking for is what a number occurs the most often, and obviously 70 occurs 3 times. Nothing else occurs more than once, and so our mode is 70. The number occurs the most often, right? Mode means most often. The second thing that we need to calculate is the range. This is the second easiest one. Right, to calculate the range, and just jot down a little note here, we have the range is the largest data point minus the smallest data point. And so in this case, for question number 1, we have an 80 for our biggest and 68 for our smallest. And when we subtract those guys, we end up getting an answer of 12. 12 is the answer. It's not 80 minus 68. It's 12. Got to make sure you get the final answer to that. The median, another word for median is middle. Just jot down a little note here. The median is middle. All right, so we need to, if you notice, our data points are all in order, of course, right? In a graph, they're going to be. Our job is to find out, well, where's that middle data point? And so we take numbers off each end, low end and high end, and then take one off the low end and the high end, off the low end and the high end, and off the low end and the high end. You just keep doing the smallest and the largest that are left. And what is going to end up happening is you're going to end up in the middle. And this particular data point, this data point has 5 data points to the left, 5 data points to the right. That median value is 71. And then last but not least, our mean means that we are going to, the sum of all data divide by the number of numbers, right? So in our particular case here, I always like to know what I'm going to divide by here. If we count the data points, remember we had 5 here to the left of that, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 data points. We know we're going to take our value, whatever we get when we add up all these numbers, and divide by 11. And so for our particular case here, what we're going to do is we're going to add all these data points together, right? We got 68, and we have 69, and we have 70 3 times. So I got to add 70 3 times. I got 71, 72, 73, 75, 79, and 80. These guys all add up to 797. And my job is to divide by the number of numbers. And so I'm going to divide by 11, and I get a decimal result. Now, I can choose where I'm going to round my decimal at. I do want to see a decimal if you get a decimal, though. If I choose to go to the 10th place, I didn't tell you where to go, so you get to pick. The 4 would round up to a 5, so 72.5 would be acceptable. If you wanted to round to 2 decimal places, and round where the 5 is, 72.45, because the 5 isn't going to round up in this case. It's followed by a 4, and so on. You can pick wherever you want to round to. Just round accurately, please. In the case of question number 3, our mode. What number occurs the most often? If you'll notice here, we have 3 3s, and we look at the rest of our data, and there's also 3 8s. So when you have 2 numbers that have the situation where they occur the most often, both of them are part of the answer. So 3, 8, I can say 3 and 8, however you want to do that, but don't just put a 3 and an 8 without anything in between them. Otherwise, it's going to look like it's 38. Okay. The range in this case, the range is largest minus the smallest. That means we're going 19 minus the 2. So our answer is 17. Our median, finding the middle number here, which means we're going to take the smallest and the biggest, the smallest and the biggest, smallest and the biggest that's left, smallest and the biggest, smallest and the biggest, smallest and the biggest, smallest and the biggest. And when that happens, you'll get down to the middle, and the middle in this case happens to be two numbers. And so what we do is the median is right in between these guys. And what number is halfway in between 6 and 7? Well, that's easy in this case, 6.5. But sometimes it's not so easy to know. And so the quickest way to calculate that number, if you don't know what number is directly in the middle, is to just add these two numbers together. 6 plus 7 is 13. Cut that in half, divide it by 2, meaning, and we get 6.5. And then for our mean, what we have going on here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 data points. Another 7 is 14, 15, 16 data points. So we know we're going to divide by 16, but we got to get what all the numbers add up to here. All right, so we have the number 2 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 6, 7, 8, 8, 8, 10, 13, 15, and 19. These guys all add up to 120. And that's, of course, we're going to calculate that. We're going to go 120 divided by 16. And the calculator tells us 7.5. Make sure you get the decimal here. This one has to be a decimal that ends. And so write out the entire decimal. All right, number 5, the mode. In this case, it looks like, hey, look, we got two 13s, but 14 outweighs that. There are 3 of those. But then when we get to the 15s, holy cow, there are 5 of those guys. And no other numbers occur 5 times, and so the mode is 15. Number occurs the most often. The range, biggest, 21. Smallest, 11. We subtract those two numbers, and we get 10. The median. Watch this little trick. Well, since my data is in rows, and the rows are the same length, I can wipe out entire row from the low end, entire row from the high end. I can wipe out, and so now I'm just left with the data points in the middle row. Okay, since there's the same number. They wiped out 7, I wiped out 7. Wipe that guy off, high end, low end, high end, low end. This 15 right here is my median. And then last but not least, my mean. Need to add up all these numbers together. Okay? So we've got to be very, very careful to make sure that we get this done accurately. So do this slowly. We got 11 and 12 and 13 and 13 and 14 and 14 and 14 and 15 and 15 and 15 and 15 and 15. It's easy to lose track there. You got to be really, really careful to make sure that you add those guys up correctly. I'm down to the bottom row now. I'm adding 18 and 19 and 19 and 20. And it looks like I messed up. I ended up doing two 19s in a row. Let me start over. I'm going to go 11 plus 12 plus 13 plus 13 plus 14 plus 14 plus 14. Now here's a good habit to get into, especially when you can break the data up. I have the first column, or excuse me, first row, all that adds up to 91. And then I'm going to go 15 times 5. That's a quick way to get all 5 of those. I'm going to add on 17 and 18. I get 110. And now I have 18 and 19 and 19 and 20 and 21 and 21 and 21. These guys add up to 139. And so when I add these 3 numbers together, I'll have the sum of all of the numbers. So there's some workarounds you sometimes need to do. You got 340. All right, now 340 is what they all add up to. Number of numbers, I got 7 in a row, 3 rows, total 21. So I'm going to go 340 divided by 21, and my answer ends up being 16.2 if you go 1 decimal place, or 16.19 if you go to 2 decimal places. Good luck on the even numbers. Work on those. Send those in to me, and we'll see how you do. See ya.